Zooey Mama, how's it going, everybody? I am joined here today by the Pirate King of Twitch streaming himself. He's so handsome. He is Tuccrr. How are you doing today, Tuck?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic, Doc. It is a pleasure to be here. Hope you're having a fantastic day as well, my king.
I am. I'm doing fantastic, doing better now that I'm talking to you. And you're so good looking. I forgot what we're talking about today. What are we doing?
We are doing a one cost tier list today. I am so excited.
Yeah, we're ranking all the one cost cards and zero cost cards, the two of them that are out there. We're grouping them together. And so we're ranking them S through F tier. So S tier is any card that just consistently generates amazing value. It can be the reason you win a game if you draw it. If you don't, maybe, you're not winning that game. And we would not be surprised if this card gets nerfed. Like, these cards are just like goated. They're so strong right now. A tier would be a card that's like the gold standard. Like, these cards are just good. They're solid, good value. Maybe can be a win condition. Maybe they're pretty flexible or just like a set staple in like a top meta deck. B tier, be card we don't really expect to get nerfed anytime soon. And they're just pretty good overall. Sometimes great, but not as much of a game winning card, but, valid options. C tier is when we're looking at some weaker cards. These are cards that just seem replaceable. There's usually a better option, or they're like the standard option in a pretty weak deck or archetype. Okay, so these cards a bit questionable if you're playing them. And F tier is just doo-doo. Yeah, I won't even call them trash because that's offensive to trash. I mean, these cards are just bad. They need to get buffed. They need something. You should not be playing these, and you rarely see them in game. Like, they're bad. Agreed upon bad. So me and Tuccrr are going to go through, rank all of the one-cost cards, and give our thoughts on where they belong in the tier list. We may agree on some. We may heavily disagree on some, but we'll see how it comes down. So I'm going to try to show every card before we rank it, just in case anyone is not familiar with that card. So to start off, we're going to go in alphabetical order for the most part. We are going to start off with Agent 13. Now, Agent 13 was kind of recently changed. She now just adds a random card to your hand instead of a random two-cost card to your hand. So where do we have Agent 13 on the tier list? I'll let you start off with this one, Tuck.
I think we have Agent 13 in like B tier.
B
Nothing
tier.
crazy. She's good in some of the, low-key dino decks, but I don't think she's something you have to have in your deck.
Yeah, I agree. I actually had Agent 13 as maybe C tier. I think you definitely never need her.
Mm-hmm.
And is a random card better than a two-cost card if you're guaranteed to
Mm,
get two costs?
no, I could see the C tier more than B tier. Yeah.
Okay, I'd say C tier, but I think it's going to pop back up when we get to Maria Hill later. So
Yeah.
I'll put her C tier here.
Yeah,
Um,
that's fine.
and then the next one, we're really starting off strong here because the next card we're looking at is Angel. I'm just going to say I think this is automatic F tier. What are your thoughts on Angel?
I think he's F tier as well. I mean, in early pools when you don't have a lot of
Uh-huh.
destroy cards, it's really
Mm,
good to fuel your Carnage or your Deathlock kind of.
yeah.
But nah, he's not great right now.
All right, we are bringing him to F tier, and maybe we'll add in a note there that we're looking at these cards from our perspective. We are pool 3 complete. We have a lot of the pool 4 and 5 cards. Your collection complete. So, this doesn't accurately reflect like a new player's experience. And so
Hmm.
some of these cards are pool F or F tier because they're so much, just designed for the early player experience.
Hmm.
Okay, so 2 down, and now we're talking about Ant-Man. So where do we start off with Ant-Man? I'll let you start off.
So for value and for a lot of the ongoing and ongoing decks we've seen recently, Ant-Man's kind of sprouted back up into the metal, I'd say a little bit. I think he's more of a B tier, but low end B tier because a 1/4, even though it is kind of location, dependent, is still pretty solid for a one cost.
Yeah, I agree perfectly. I was gonna say he's low B tier or maybe really high C tier because Ant Man never
Hmm.
feels bad. Like, he's not a card that ever like feels bad or like crap, but he often doesn't make the cut for some ongoing decks. He just never really feels needed, but he's decent value. Like he's not
Hmm.
necessarily a game winner, but I think he's pretty decent. So I agree. We'll put him in B tier, and once we get more cards in there, we're thinking maybe lower B tier.
Yeah.
Okay, on to the next one. We've got Bass. So I personally think Bass used to be A or S tier. I think she used to be really strong. I would play her in, Cerebro decks, Mr. Negative decks, Sarah decks, Bounce decks. I've cut down a bit on Bast. I think Ravana hurts Bast a bit. I no longer put Bast in Mr. Negative decks because of Ravana. You actually don't want your cards getting that power boost. So
Hmm.
where do you have Bast at the moment? Because I'm a bit conflicted on where I have her.
I've seen Bast in like one of the best decks right now, which is the Dark Hawk bounce list,
Uh huh.
but she's not necessarily a necessity in that list, so I would probably have her in C tier right now.
Yeah, I was thinking B or C, so I agree. We'll put Bass maybe at the top of C.
Yeah.
Put Bass above Agent 13. I think Bass, has a place and can be really strong. I think in the current meta, especially Sarah Control or Sarah
Hmm.
Miracle didn't really make its way back into the meta. So Bass is just not fit for the meta right now. Okay, let's move on to Black Knight. Now, this is interesting. At the time we're filming, my client still shows Black Knight as a 1/2, and when you discard a card, you get the Ebony Blade to your hand. And the Ebony Blade is just a 4-cost card, copies the power of whatever card you discard, and that's it. But by the time this video comes out, Ebony Blade now has an ongoing effect that it cannot have its power reduced or be destroyed. So whatever card that's discarded, let's say it was a 10 powered card, Ebony Blade is 10 power. It can't die to Shang-Chi. It can't have its power reduced by Shadow King. It can only be killed if your opponent was playing Goliath and they had priority. And that change also just happened. So before this change, where did you have Black Knight, and where do you have Black Knight now after the new change?
Before this change, I had him probably in a low C.
Yeah.
After this change, I think I have him like middle A.
Ooh, sheesh. You think it's that good? It's that big of an upgrade.
I think in order to, it's like another like with Mobius not being as dominant right now,
Uh huh.
and the way you can combo with Black Knight, it gives you an alternative instead of just playing a hella discard. And it discards one drops right now. We'll get into a little bit, but I think this it's helps with the targeting of discard and allowing you to play a lot of power down on turn 4, which something in discard you may not be able to get if you're playing Dracula. You don't get your Apocalypse maybe to that huge 20 power of an Infinite
Uh huh.
unless you have your other combo cards. I just think this change to Black Knight is pretty massive because you can only take it out if you play 2 cards in congruence with each other to destroy the blade.
Okay. Yeah. I agree. I think it's we're gonna have to wait and see, right? We're gonna have to
Hmm.
wait and see how his play rate changes. It's a very new change, so we literally don't know. We have not played with the new Black Knight yet. He could be insane. He could be still not played much. So I agree with putting him low A tier. Also because I think when he first came out, we didn't have the change to Blade yet, if I'm correct. So
Mm-mm.
Blade being better and Hellcow being better and the other discard package being better, maybe Black Knight just pops off now, right? Like he's better and the package is better. So I agree. I think maybe low A tier. He could be a force that just carries discard now. We're gonna have to wait and
Hmm.
see. I think regardless, I would have him as A or B. He's definitely better than he was before. So we're excited for that one though. See how much he pops off. All right, next up we've got Blade. We're just talking about him. So Blade, being a 1/3, that now he does discard the rightmost card from your hand. I used to have Blade, think of him as pretty poor. He was very bad. And now he discards the rightmost hand. And I tell you what, that is such a huge upgrade. Being able to target the card, and not just the biggest powered card, you can target a Swarm, or you can target Apocalypse. And now, with this Black Knight change, this is big. I have Blade, I think at least B tier with his current ability. I think he's always consistent and good. He's never generating really more power than his 1/3, but I think he's always like a good card. He doesn't feel bad anymore. What do you think?
Yeah, I think he's probably middle B tier, if not upper middle B tier. because targeting and discard is so important to be able to
Yes.
get your combo off end game.
Yeah.
And that change was literally huge for him. Huge.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah. I
like him
agree.
middle B.
All right. I like it. Okay. Do we have him up? We have him above Ant Man. We're thinking, right? We think Ant Man is low B.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Next up, we have Deadpool. Now, you're a huge Destroy player, and right now the Deadpool Taskmaster Destroy deck has been going very, very strong. So I'm gonna let you take this one away. Where do you have Deadpool in the tier list? He's got to be pretty high up there.
We're talking about A tiers are cards that can carry and dominate a deck. And we talk about S tier is the same thing, but if you don't draw this card in S tier, it's just more difficult to win games. I feel like there's an argument for Deadpool to be S tier, but Deadpool is high A tier right now because you don't have to have Deadpool to win games in Destroy, whereas some of these other cards on the list you kind of have to have in order to truly dominate your games.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Yeah, S tier. I don't think Deadpool feels like close to being broken or overpowered. I think his deck's really strong, but he doesn't feel like you can just like put him in a random deck or any deck and he all of a sudden is just gonna like win you games, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
he's very strong, he feels great, he doesn't feel borderline overpower, and sometimes, especially if you draw him later, he doesn't produce amazing value. You know, he can. He's
Mm-hmm.
consistently good or even consistently great. Sometimes amazing game winner, but he's not necessarily all the time game winning, especially with his timing if you don't have the right destroy cards in hand. So I agree. I think he's high A tier. I would definitely put him above Black Knight. You agree with that?
Oh, totally put him
Yeah.
with Black Knight.
Okay. And check out that taco variant. I mean, come on. Super good. Next up, we've got Ebony Maw. Ebony Maw doesn't see much play these days. He used to see a bit of play, even like Electro ramp decks, and I just have not seen him in a minute. I'm thinking C or F because such a big drawback. There's actually a lot of decent and kind of strong one cost cards out there. There used to not be. And so I have him C or F, honestly. I don't think he's really a good option in like any deck right now.
He's not F tier. I don't think
Okay.
he's F or D. I think he is C tier. I could see him being C, like, because if you play him in your packages, even if you're playing like Zoo deck, and let's say if you get Maul from Shauna, that is one of the worst one drops you can get because you just can't play that lane anymore.
Yeah, he could screw you over.
Um, but like for Sauron, it works well with
Yeah, it can work with
Sauron.
Zero and Sauron. Oh, the Sauron, you still can't play him after turn 3, though, right?
Oh, if you play Sauron after 3, you can play Ebony Maul on any turn.
You can.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's important to know. Okay, I didn't remember that. So I'd say that is a good synergy to have because Sauron Shuri is like strong deck too.
Mm-hmm.
So are you thinking C tier?
Yeah, I think C tier is good for him.
Okay, cool. So one step above F. We'll give him C tier. We think above or below Bast?
Below Bast.
Below Bast. Above Agent 13, those.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
for the stat line.
Yeah. Okay, next up we've got Echo. Now, you play a lot of Echo.
Mm-hmm.
Echo always looks to me like she has great potential. I don't see it coming through. I don't think she's as bad as people say she is. I don't think she's F tier. Maybe high C or somewhere in the Bs. What do you think about Echo?
I
You
think
play her a lot.
Echo's in the very end of B tier.
Okay, I think that's fair. I think it's a fair assessment. I think she's one of the cards. She's not great, but I think she's decent, can be good, and she's underplayed in terms
Mm-hmm.
of where she is. Would you have her above or below Ant-Man?
Below Ant-Man.
Okay. All right, next up, we've got Elektra. My initial thought is straight
Amazing
to...
variant.
Thank you. Thank you very much. My initial thought is straight to F tier. I think, there's been talks that maybe she's going to get buffed at some point. We've seen for like some clips that Second Dinner has put out. I'm not sure she's ever worth it, but maybe in the right meta. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think C or you think F?
I think she's D tier.
We got no D. We're at C or F, Tuck.
Oh, okay.
You gotta pick one or the other.
I think she's in the bottom end of C tier. I don't think she is unplayable. I
That's
think
fair.
if you were to tech in an Electra into one of your decks and play her late game on top of a Sunspot or a Nebula, like of course it's matchup dependent, but I don't
Uh-huh.
think she's all that horrible because I think oddly enough, with all the Black Knight right now, I could see Electra getting a little bit more playtime because discard's not going to be running any armor. So if
That's
you
true.
Electra a Black Knight's ability doesn't happen.
That's true. And Electra could get rid of Black Knight earlier than Killmonger. So
Hmm.
she could get in before Lady Sif discards a card for Black Knight.
Yep.
Okay, that's big brain. And I agree with you. I don't think she's unplayable. And so
Hmm.
I would also put her where in C tier.
She's below Agent 13.
Okay.
She's like one of the lower end Cs.
Yeah. Yeah, you made some good points there. That is extremely valid. All right, then we got Forge. Forge is very strong, in my opinion. To me, Forge, he sometimes goes pretty big. Sometimes he just hits something decent. He's so flexible. I mean, you see Forge in so many decks. He works with Destroy. He can work with Surfer. He's about to work with Sebastian Shaw. He can work with Thanos. To me, his flexibility makes me think of him as A tier. Where do you have
Yeah,
Forge?
I have him high A tier. I have him probably above Deadpool in A tier because of flexibility and the value he adds to so many different packages.
Uh huh. Yeah, his flexibility is insane. He just works. Next up is Ghost. I think Ghost. This is another one of cards. I just lean to F tier. I think if Ghost had a time to shine, it would have been before Alioth was released, because dodging priority when Shang-Chi was like the only good option, it made sense. Like maybe that would have countered Galactus way back in the day with Galactus Null, when Galactus had 2 power, you'd be losing lanes. And even when that Ghost came out and Alioth wasn't around yet, she still wasn't played. And now that Alioth is around, even though he just got nerfed, I just think if she had a time that she would have been good, it already passed. And I've seen her maybe twice in a game. I'm not even lying. I never play against Ghost. I have her as F tier. Where do you have Ghost?
In this current meta, she is F tier. Um, it's a different concept than like an Invisible Woman,
Uh huh.
which I know isn't like the same ability, but like they're loosely similar. But like
Yeah.
with the Alioth dominated meta, it's you just can't have Ghost in your decks or you just lose.
Yeah, yeah, and I think you hit a nail on the spot here. Invisible Woman does things better,
Hmm.
and she hides cards for the entire games. You can hide combos. You can protect cards from Enchantress or Shang-Chi. Like Ghost, it just really helps out for one turn, right? You can
Hmm.
still have your cards countered after that, and just dodging priority turn by turn doesn't seem to do much, at least not right now.
Yeah.
Would we have Ghost above Angel?
Yes.
Yeah, she's maybe something potential. Maybe in the
Hmm.
future pops up. She seems like she has potential. It's just never really come out. All right, then we've got Ghost Spider. Interesting card. Former season pass card, but now at a 1-2 stat line. Where do you have Ghost Spider in the tier list?
The versatility of Ghost Spider is actually pretty awesome. Especially with the rise of Phoenix Force again, allowing you to
Mm-hmm.
be able to transition cards that way and just being able to move cards overall. Like if you look at Paper's old list with Darkhawk, Shadow King, Doctor Octopus, you have Ghost Spider to yeet your Doctor Octopus out of the
Yeah.
Shang-Chi range potentially. I think Ghost Spider is probably a mid to low B tier. She's nothing crazy, but she is flexible,
Yes.
and allows you kind of to get over to locations you might need to get over to in order to win them on specific turns to either maintain or potentially lose priority.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think she's like a great example of a B tier card. It doesn't really have much game winning potential usually. She doesn't feel crazy, but she's so flexible that she's never like a horrible option. Like
Hmm.
she's worth trying. She's worth experimenting with. In some decks, she can produce some good value. So I agree with Ghost Spider having her in B tier.
Put her above Blade and Ant-Man, so put her like in the middle.
All right, I think that's fair. Yeah, I would definitely put her right above or right below Blade. All right, next up we've got Hawkeye. He is a 1/4 now once you complete his abilities, so just decent power there. Doesn't really offer any kind of utility or anything outside of that.
Hmm.
Just based on power alone, it makes me want to give him C tier. I still never really play him, so I don't know. I see him as like a very C tier feeling card. How do you think about Hawkeye?
He has his usage in like the lower ranked decks and stuff. Not lower ranked, but like lower pool decks.
Yeah,
I think the +3 is good value. You have to play a card in their next turn, and I mean you can combo it well. We don't see this often, but if you wanted to add a Warlock on a Hawkeye, that's pretty solid to get you another card. But like I don't think he's anything crazy. I think he's probably C tier. He's not F because he's not like bad.
right.
But I think his just versatility is interesting. I think with the bounce meta, which we might be getting some more bounce coming back again. I mean, I see him a lot in the Darkhawk package right now.
Uh huh.
But I don't think he's anything crazy that warrants to be like, yes, flex Hawkeye in all sorts of decks. He's B tier. But I think he's like a middle, maybe upper C tier,
Yeah, I think that's
maybe
fair. I think
below 13.
below 13. Okay. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think he's very C tier, not unplayable.
Yeah.
All right, next up we've got Howard the Duck. You can see here I do not own Howard for very good reasons. Not only is he
Word.
6,000 tokens, it's not worth it, but he's never been in a Spotlight Cash. So I don't own him. I think easy C or F tier. He's like a common meme card that you say for like trash cards. You say, oh, it's like a Howard card. Where do you have
Hmm.
Howard?
I have Howard in low C right now. I
Okay.
think there comes a day when Howard is actually more viable. At the time of recording this video, there might be some better usage for Howard. But I don't think at the moment he's really dominant by any means. I think he works well with Iron Lad and in some like
Yes.
certain packages, but you just leave him. You just let him sit there in the bottom of C.
Yeah. Yeah, but still one above F. So good on Howard. He has synergy out there with one of the best cards in the game, Iron Lad. Iron Lad's a great
Hmm.
card. He just hasn't contributed that much himself. But we'll put him at the bottom of C. Human Torch. Human Torch might be about to see a big spike in play due to the Phoenix Force change. Just because you're going to see more Phoenix Force decks. I don't know. Human Torch is always one of those cards that seems like it has potential, but it just dies a lot if he gets really big. So where do you put Human Torch?
I have Human Torch in B tier. I
B
think
tier.
in
Okay.
that combo package with Phoenix Force, Human Torch does get massive, but I think you
Yeah.
get better value with multiple man.
Yeah, and I'm thinking maybe the lower end of B tier.
Hmm.
So I'm thinking maybe
Above Echo, I'd say.
okay, right above Echo. I
Yeah,
think that's fair. Yeah, I think he will see a little bit of spike in play right now.
yeah, and that change is a little confusing, but I get the
Yeah.
hype for it.
All right, next up we've got Iceman. Now, I am an Iceman believer. You can see here I got the best Iceman variant in the game, Sploosh Man. He's awesome. You know, actually, Tuck, this makes me think of you. this
Oh,
very,
makes you think of me. Oh, the splooge.
something about this.
Is he
All right,
screaming?
yeah. Now, Iceman, I am like a firm believer in. I played a lot. I've played a lot even when Mobius came out. It did hurt Iceman a bit, but now Mobius has died down a bit. The thing about Iceman is you hardly see like how much value he creates. Like you don't always know which card he hit, even after your opponent plays it. And so I think Iceman can win some games. I mean, if you hit a Shuri or you hit a Sarah or something, you're ruining like someone's day with this one cost card. So I have Iceman in A tier. I don't think he's S tier right now for sure. I have him somewhere in A tier. Where do you think about that?
I think A tier is a nice solid place for him because of the disrupt he can cause.
Yep.
I totally like what you're doing there.
You'd have him below Deadpool, I'm thinking maybe.
I have him below Black Knight.
Right below Black Knight. I think it's fair. Especially with, new Black Knight. It's kind of unnknown.
I
All
think
right.
that's solid.
Next up, we've got Iron
Oh,
Fist.
that variant.
Oh, it's nice. I just got this the other day. But Iron Fist, he saw play early when you first start out, try move decks. Honestly, it just seems like there's so many one cost cards now that can work, and even with move, you've got Ghost Spider, you've got Nico who can move cards. He just feels like he doesn't really compete to me. Where do you have Iron Fist?
I think Iron Fist is C tier right now. I
Uh
think
huh.
earlier pools he's definitely more of an A tier.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in our current game state he's probably a low end C tier. He's still good because he gives you like the buffs and stuff you need for your cards, but like he's not 100% necessary right now.
Yeah, yeah, I completely agree. Where in C tier, I'm thinking maybe below Hawkeye. I don't even see him in that many move deck. I would say maybe below Hawkeye. All right, next up, we've got Kitty Pryde. Now, the client here shows Kitty Pryde as a 1-0. She has just been buffed to a 1-1. So now that Kitty Pryde is a 1-1 that gets +1 every time she's played, it's hard to know, how her play rate's going to change. She still lost her kind of Elsa Angela package. So where do we have Kitty Pryde at right now? I'm thinking at least B tier, even though she's taken a lot of big hits over the past couple of months. Where do you have
Yes, yeah.
Kitty?
I think Kitty's top of B tier probably.
Okay, I think that's fair. I'll move her even above Ghost Spider. Are we thinking right above?
Yes.
Right.
The
She's
value you get with her is
yes,
just crazy.
yeah. She could be A tier again in the right meta over the right cards too.
Hmm.
Okay, next up we've got Korg, and Korg right now is going strong because of the Darkhawk decks. He's pretty tied down to Darkhawk and Bounce, but I definitely have Korg in B tier, maybe even A tier. He does cause some disruption, which is hard to quantify the value of messing with your opponent's draws.
I think A tier. I think
A,
the disrupt he adds to, and if we want to get into this with the changes that have happened by the time this video has been posted,
uh huh.
the disrupt to the deck that a rock can cause now is substantial. Because you don't have a guaranteed draw on 6 now.
That's true.
This actually goes really crazy for any sort of cards that kind of offset your opponent's shuffle.
That's true. And America Chavez being changed maybe makes Korg even
Yeah,
better. Okay, so we'll put him. Do you have him above Iceman, below?
I have him above Iceman.
Above Iceman. Okay. All right, now we've got Maria Hill, who has Agent 13's old ability to add a random 2-cost card to your hand. So I still don't really see her played besides really Loki. Does that alone put her in C or B tier maybe? I'd say maybe B tier. She's definitely never feels like a game-winning card, but she generates something and it's on curve.
It's on curve, and the two cost card you can get could be something you need, like a collector.
Yeah,
So I think low end B tier.
yeah. I'm thinking, I think she's worse than Blade.
Hmm.
Maybe somewhere around Iron Man or Ant Man or Human Torch. And M'Baku, he's a meme still. I have M'Baku as F tier still. He like gets memed all the time. I don't really think he's playable. I think a meta will come where he is. I'm not sure that's come yet. You're gonna draw him most games, especially now with American Chavez change. You're actually gonna draw him more often by turn 6. So he actually
Hmm.
just got worse. I say F tier.
I think F tier's a good play. Like his ability is he can jump onto a random location.
Yeah,
Other than that, he has no additional value to your deck. I mean, yes, you get an additional 2 power potentially at the end of the game if he can jump there, but no.
all right, Misty Knight, and we'll look at this as the high Evo version of Misty Knight, as the evolved version. I think that's fair. That's really where she sees most play, but we could also consider her play in, Patriot decks or potentially Zoo. I think even in high Evo decks, a lot of times people skip on Misty Knight in the deck, myself included, because of some other one drops. So I think even evolved Misty Knight, B tier at best, is how I view her. B or C, somewhere in that range.
I think she's B tier.
Okay.
I think the value she adds to high Evo is actually really, really crazy. Yeah, I think she's better than Blade.
Right above Blade, maybe below Ghost Spider.
Hmm.
Okay, next up we've got Nebula, aka Nebula. I think Nebula is a great example of an A tier card. I think she's not the most flexible. She can get countered by certain metas, like if Kitty Pryde's popular. But right now in lockdown decks, she goes really hard. She can get really powerful, and win you a game. And if that doesn't happen, she's consistently like pretty good, but can become amazing.
Yeah, I think she's high A tier.
Yeah, I would
Just
put
because
her.
like the priority aspect you might need for like a Galactus Eliath kind of
Uh huh.
situation. Yeah.
I would put her maybe right below Forge, or are you thinking above Forge?
I think below Forge.
Below Forge. All right, next up, we've got Nico Minoru. I'll let you start off. I know you play a lot of Nico in Destroy.
Nico is what I would say is probably the most versatile one drop in the game. And I would put Nico in S tier. I know there is a lot of RNG with Nico, but the one of the greatest things about Nico is the way that her abilities work is you can use her change location ability on a location that is Cosmode or does not allow on reveal cards. So like her entire aspect to the game and the whole RNG complex you have with the card literally is groundbreaking because we don't have any other card like that. And she is like any card that allows you to draw cards without your opponent drawing cards. Crystal. Talking like that and using that in destroy is truly just crazy. Not only for curve, it's great for Thanos. It's great for bounce. It's great for pretty much anything. You're like, I want to throw this forge down because I'm gonna buff my next card. Let me get 2 cards I might need overall. Like that ability right there, be able to draw 2 cards, I think is one of the main reasons she is S tier.
Yeah, you know what? I agree with you completely. I don't play as much of her as you. I know you play a lot of Destroy. I don't play too much Thanos either. Yeah, not only can she draw cards, she can draw 2 cards. You're gonna
Mm-hmm.
choose what you kill. You have to wait for her ability. And before she came out, I thought she was gonna be too random to make it worth it. You know, too like inconsistent. But there's so many decks, especially ones that have a lot of smaller cards like destroying Thanos, that you can just wait and you don't mind being flexible and having to just, use one extra energy that turn. Like you have options that you can mix and match. So needing to kind of save her a turn or two doesn't feel that bad in a lot of decks. And I agree, she's the most versatile one cost card. It's like all the Thanos Infinity Stones in a single card. And I have her S tier. I have her as the best one cost card in the game right now. Her
Yep.
versatility is crazy. She goes hard. Next up, we've got Nightcrawler. This is a card you play a lot early on in the game, and then he kind of falls off. Saw a bit more play with Elsa and Angela, but that whole package kind of got nerfed. I think he's B tier, low B, or maybe high C. He's not horrible, but he just doesn't have as much synergy right now.
I like the low B.
Low
I
B.
think you can still play him in Miss Marvel control list, which is really popular right now,
Mm-hmm.
and be able to like move him over to other lanes, and like in that aspect, with that being such like a popular deck overall. So I like him in the B category. I'd have him above Maria Hill.
Maria. All right, next up, we've got Nova. Nova's a card that comes in and out of play a bit. Used to see play in Destroy a lot, but Destroy has so many good cards right now. It doesn't make the cut a lot of times. Makes the cut in Surfer still, Surfer Killmonger. Um, I have Nova maybe in B tier. I think it can produce some big numbers, and I don't think it's ever really a bad card. You just need to make sure to kill it, and there's a lot of good options out there right now.
Yeah, I like it. I can B, but honestly, it might be in the low end of B right now, just because you have to be able to destroy this card
Uh huh.
in order for it to work. So I would actually probably have it below Echo.
Below Echo. Yeah, it's really fallen off. All right, Quicksilver. I heard a story recently. I'll share the story. Ben Brode said the reason Quicksilver's in the game is because in Hearthstone, where tempo mattered a lot, it wasn't set 6 turns. It could go on, until you kill your opponent. So tempo is big. Getting an early lead was big. People complained about not drawing their 1-drops on turn 1. So they made Quicksilver. So if you want, you can always draw a 1-cost card on turn 1. That was the whole point of him. But unfortunately, Snap is not like Hearthstone. Tempo is not as important. And I think Quicksilver is an F tier card.
Yeah, I think Quicksilver is definitely F tier.
Is he the worst? Is he better than Angel and M'Baku?
He's better than M'Baku.
Better than M'Baku? We'll put him right here. All right, next up we've got Quinjet, who is seeing a lot of play right now because of Loki decks. And the Loki discount, it's made not the most flexible card. It's really just in those Loki decks. It may sound with Moon Girl as well. but that Loki deck is so strong, and you basically always have Quinjet when you have Loki and Collector, and so I think Quinjet by that deck alone goes to like A or B tier, maybe low A or high B. What do we think about Quinjet?
I think Quinjet is definitely A tier, especially with a lot of the She-Hulk high evo decks also that are going around right now,
Uh huh. I've seen
and
some Moon
Dino
Girl,
coming back.
Moon Girl She-Hulk decks the other
Yeah,
day.
I think A tier.
Okay, I'm gonna say low A tier.
I put him above Iceman.
Right above here. Yeah. All right. Next up, we've got Rocket Raccoon, who is actually kind of just like a worse Hawkeye now. I mean, it's actually harder to trigger Rocket's ability. So I have Rocket as C tier. I really don't think there's much reason to play him unless Bounce is really insane and needs him. But there's so many good options.
With how like location dependent it is,
Yeah.
I think C tier is pretty viable. You like your opponent has to play there. I mean, you could play him in like a Guardians control list, like
Uh
what
huh.
W plays, but like
Yeah, I would put him below Iron Fist, maybe below Electra. Uh,
I put him above Electra.
right above Electra. All right, next up, we've got Snowguard, who has used to be like the worst one cost card, and then she got buffed, and then she got nerfed again. Her Hawk and her Bear now are 3 costs. She does see playing Loki deck still with Collector. I think she's pretty strong. If you don't draw her, it's fine. She's not like a game winning, but being able to change a location is pretty strong. That can save you. So to me, I think she's at least B tier because she can be pretty good value here and there.
I think definitely B tier. I think being able to turn off a location
Uh huh. It can
or
save you.
reactivate location
Yeah, it can save you some games.
is really, really, really good.
I
Yeah.
would put her maybe right above Ghost Spider. Even I think she can be pretty strong.
Yes, right below Kitty, I think.
Yeah. All right, then we've got Spider Ham. What are your thoughts on Spider Ham? The little piggy boy.
Either is really, really good for you or really, really bad for you. I
Infinite.
think Infinite, Agatha, any of those, like you're playing against a Sauron deck. I think Spider Ham has a time and place. I don't think he's bad, but I don't think he's like crazy, crazy good. So I'm thinking maybe like high C tier.
I'm gonna say I've actually started playing more Spider Ham recently after Mobius got changed to a 3 cost card because Mobius countered Spider Ham really hard. It was annoying.
Mm-hmm.
But since then, I've started playing Spider Ham more, and I'm hitting Darkhawks right now. And you hit a Darkhawk,
Mm-hmm.
you snap, they retreat. It's like you're right.
Mm.
He's either really good or really bad, but you see what you hit, kind of unlike Iceman. I personally was even having Spider Ham as low A or somewhere in the B tier.
If he's B, I think he's low B. But I mean, some of the cards we do have in B are kind of debatable for their location. But I think Spider Ham, you can put him in front of Maria Hill, and I like that.
Yeah,
I think he's got the value there.
yeah, I think B tier is fair. I think you're right. He is meta dependent. Right now, Darkhawk is a great target, but we also do see the She-Hulk Infinite. So he's got kind of
Hmm.
mixed targets out there right now.
He is great in bounce though. So
He is great in bounce. All right, Squirrel Girl. I like her because of the zombie variant. I don't like her because she's not very good and she sees like no play right now. I remember back in the day, you'd play her in Destroy to kill a bunch of cards to discount death, and now she's just really not worth it. I don't know the last time I've seen Squirrel Girl, if I'm being honest.
hmm
Maybe there's synergy with Patriot still or, Blue Marvel. I have her as C or F, but maybe more likely C. What do you think?
I think C because she does allow you to get prio and does
She
fuel your
does.
death, and she also can be used in a nihilist deck with some hazmat control and stuff for like
Hmm.
clogging your opponent. But I don't think she's anything like super super crazy right now.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. So I'm gonna go ahead and put Squirrel Girl maybe above Rocket is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I
She
put
have
her above
maybe more
Rocket.
purpose there. Okay, next up we've got Sunspot. I play a good amount of Sunspot, as you can see. I've got variants. I got him split. Sunspot's good. I mean, he's maybe not the most flexible card right now. He's gone
Hmm.
through times where he was seeing like 90% of games back in the day, but even now, limited to kind of Lockdown or She-Not or sometimes Electro, Sunspot gets great value. I have him as pretty solid A tier. Like he's one of the first cards I put in a deck if it's like a slower ramp list.
Yeah, I think it's A tier, but he's not like top A tier.
Yeah, yeah, and I think he's not as flexible. Where in the A tier would you have him?
Probably below Quinjet.
Right below Quinjet. All right, next up we've got the Hood. The Hood is now a 1-3. You get that demon. What do you think about the Hood? Where should he go?
I think Hood is upper B tier. I think the combo packages you can put in him right now are really solid with collector list, bounce lists, a nihilist
Nihilist.
list.
Yeah.
I think he's solid. I think you play him for the on reveal aspect for your werewolf, or to be able to put him over on your opponent's side. And then the demon, that 6 value, if they play their Killmonger early, is just really solid.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. He's really good. I also have him as low A or high B, so we'll go ahead, add him to the B tier. Are we thinking above, below Snowguard, Kitty Pride somewhere? High B?
I put him below Snowguard.
Right below Snowguard. Okay, I think it's fair. All right, we've got Titania. She just seems really built for clog decks, or maybe hit her with 0 if you're playing a deck with 0. Even then, I've started cutting her from my clog lists now that we got Nihilus and changes things. She seems pretty maybe high C tier. If you can get Zoo decks going at some point, I think she'll get better, but I have her as maybe high C. Where do you have Titania?
I think high C is pretty solid. I don't think she's anything crazy right now. 5 power for a 1-drop is pretty cool, and if you play her on
Yes.
like final turn, that's awesome. But I think right now she's okay. I think you might play her honestly more with C5 or with some Sarah Hitmonkey
Oh, yeah,
this
yeah.
this next season and stuff, or like not a negative Hitmonkey, but I think Sarah Hitmonkey is going to have a lot of diversity here next season, especially with Cyclops' brother coming out. But that's a
Yeah.
topic for
Yeah,
another day.
I think right now she doesn't have much decks she works in. Like she's pretty
hmm
inflexible right now. But I would put her. Do you have her below Ebony Maw, above?
Probably right there. Yeah, right below
Right here?
13.
Yeah.
hmm
All right, next up, we've got Uwadu. He's seen some changes recently. I still haven't played him, but he basically works only on the right location, but even if he's in your deck. Is he C? Is he F? Where is Uwadu?
I think anything that allows you to like see a location, kind of like how Howard lets you see what card you're going to draw next, we
Yeah,
can't say is like an F tier card. I think C
because
is a good home
it
for
can
it.
have value. Yeah.
Yeah,
All right,
so
I
I
think
probably
that's a
do
fair
that.
point. I'm thinking bottom of C though.
Probably below Howard, because with Howard you can do that every single turn. Watsu after turn 3 becomes just eh.
Right. All right, then we've got the Wasp. She's generally can't be used for high Evo. Her evolved form generally used for Lockjaw decks, and sometimes even Patriot or Cerebro 3 decks with Valkyrie. So she's got some uses. Usually doesn't go crazy, but pretty flexible. I'm inclined to give her like a B tier ranking because of her flexibility. Actually,
I think B tier is pretty solid, especially being able to also use her with Elsa and like
yes,
Hitmonkey and stuff.
yeah, Hitmonkey too. Where in B tier would you put her?
Above Ant-Man.
All right, next up we've got X-23. You're the Destroy King. Take this one away. Where is X-23 going? She's a damn good card.
So this is a card I was trying to talk with Oct about earlier, but he said save it for the video. The value
I knew you were talking about this card. I knew
X23
you were talking about X-23.
adds to a destroy deck is literally unprecedented.
Yes.
Even if Nico wasn't a card, even with Nico as a card, what X23 can do for a destroy list is S tier, because when you don't draw X23, you feel it. But when you do draw X23, your opponent is quaking because they know you're going to be dropping power all over the place, and your just curve is always going to be better than your opponent's curve with X23 in play. And because of that aspect, it's a ramp that has no downside. Whereas like Electro, play Electro, you're limited to one card. X23 not only when you destroy it, does it give you 1 energy? It respawns in another location for you to be able to do it again, 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 and again. I just it is probably one of the top 3 destroy cards, and it's not number 3.
You know what? I gotta say, before coming on this video, I was thinking X23 easily A tier. She only really works in like destroy, so kind of niche in that sense, like just one archetype. But she
Mm-hmm.
does carry it. She's I think the reason that Deadpool has kind of made his way back in his big
Mm-hmm.
combos with Null and Taskmaster. And you're right. You're right. If you don't draw X23, like your game, your curve is significantly worse. Like it takes away so many combos. So, and I would not be surprised to see X23 get nerfed to like a 1/1 or something small because her big thing is her
Yeah.
ability. So,
Mm-hmm.
because of that, I think that fits the mold of S tier. I think I wouldn't be surprised if she gets nerfed. She can win you games. It's a game changer. So, I agree with that actually. I think X23 right now, considering Destroy is in a good spot, I'd say is a game changer in S tier.
And anything that lets you play Null and Deadpool on turn 6 is kind of crazy.
That's true. I do have her below Nico still. Nico's
Oh yes,
flexibility I still
yes.
have. Yeah. But I would not be surprised to see either card get touched up a little bit. Second
We come
dinner,
up.
don't listen to me. All right, now we've got Yellow Jacket, another zero cost card with a 2 power, but he does have a negative side effect, obviously. I've never really seen Yellow Jacket played too much. He does have some maybe tempo potential if tempo was like a real thing in Snap. Where do you have him? I don't know where to put him. If he's just C, if he's F, where do we have Yellow Jacket?
So like the cool thing about Yellow Jacket with the way the meta is right now, he is kind of like a nihilist fuel in a way. If you are
That's
playing like
true.
some sort of Dupree combo, he's good for like a hit monkey list. You can use him for high evo potentially too with a nihilist if you want to just get like, crazy with it. I think like the cool thing about Yellow Jacket is he costs 0.
Yeah.
So getting that 2 power and you play him first on a lane,
Uh huh.
that's something that's really solid for you. So I don't think he's like necessarily a card that's on the lower side. His pitfall is pretty decent, but I think he's still like a very low end B tier. He's not necessarily C because I think he still just adds value and you can kind of still flex him into certain like all sorts of decks. You just have to, play him in a specific order.
How many decks do you play Yellow Jacket in?
How many decks? So I don't play Yellow Jacket in a lot of decks.
I
Like,
don't play him
and
in
I
any
know,
decks.
but I don't think he's a bad card. I still think he's like fairly flexible. Like I think if anything, if we were to put him in C tier, I think we put him in like a higher C tier. He's not like a low end C.
I would be okay putting him at the top of C. I personally don't ever play him, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't ever play against him. Like I rarely see Yellow Jacket. I don't know his play rate exactly, but I
It's
don't
low.
think he's being played much. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
comfortable putting him at the top of C. I think he's usually a replaceable option in decks. Usually, you don't need him.
I think he is right above Squirrel Girl.
All right,
So more
that's
like
fair.
middle C.
Yeah, I do need to experiment with him more with a nihilist, but okay, Yondu is a card, and I'll take this. I'll give this one to you soon. But Yondu used to be played a lot in destroy decks. He powers up null, discounts death. I don't see him a lot. He gets cut a lot now because destroy has Nico and X23 and Deadpool. Right, he's kind of been shadowed by these other one cost cards that fit destroy archetype. Where would you put Yondu at the moment?
With the addition of Gladiator to the game, we saw a little bit more milling and stuff. But like the way milling cards go, I think Bink's dead at best. Like destroying your opponent's card, one game is really good, and then just destroying a card for your opponent that they don't really need the
Uh
next
huh.
game isn't really great. So like the inconsistency there doesn't necessarily make him amazing. Yes, knowing what type of deck your opponent might be playing by destroying a said card is cool. I'd probably put him in C tier, but he probably is top of C tier at the moment, just for the knowledge and destroying an opponent's card. It's just like he hits good stuff, yes. He hits bad stuff, yes. It's just like the 50-50 there. I still think I probably puts him at top of C tier. I think I put him above Bast, which I know is kind of crazy. But I don't know. I just think the intel and destroying a card is just I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this, but I don't know. I think it's It's somewhat decent. Milling is another form of disruption. It's just not anything super, super crazy at the
Yeah.
moment. It's like kind of an argument you would have with like a Moon Knight. I think it's kind of like that same exact kind of scenario there.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think he's C tier. He doesn't really have a place in the meta right now, like a deck that he's needed in, maybe bounce or
Hmm.
something, but he's kind of been overshadowed and he's really fallen off. So I think C tier is a good spot for him. All right, then we've got Zero. Zero really only sees play in like Shuri Sauron decks, but Shuri Sauron decks are pretty strong, and I know you play them a lot. So I think Zero, just being in those decks, has to be C or B probably as a floor, maybe even B tier. Where do you have Zero?
I think B tier is good.
Okay, I
He
think
just
it's
fits
fair.
the way and the value we can add,
Yeah,
especially to maybe even this next card that we're going to be listing.
yeah. Okay, and we're in B tier.
He's above Blade.
I believe I think it's fair. Yeah, just the value he
Yeah.
adds to Shuri Sauron decks. Okay, and lastly we got Martyr. And I'm actually not showing Martyr in my game client because she doesn't pop up in my collection as an unowned card. I don't know if it's because she's new or because I never played against her yet. But where do we have Martyr? She's a 1/4 that, if possible, will move to a location that loses you the game at the end of the game. So opposite of Captain Marvel, but she's a 1/4. I think she sucks personally from what I've seen after she's come out, but I know you've actually played her a bit. So, your thoughts on her do trump mine here. What do you think about Martyr currently?
I think Martyr's a very interesting card.
Yeah.
She hasn't really lost me games like at all, which is pretty wild. But I think she's not. She's definitely not good. So
I agree with that. I
I
agree with
wouldn't
that.
rate
She's definitely
her.
not good.
But she's not F because I mean like she's a
Yeah.
1/4. Yes, the ability is horrible, but if you can play around the ability, I think she's still better than Ghost.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And then that's
agree.
also how
She's
I go.
probably somewhere in the C tier.
Hmm.
Because she has power. I mean Hawkeye is a 1/4. We got him in C, although his is maybe easier to get to a 1/4. Would we put Martyr below Hawkeye or even lower?
I put Martyr right under Watsu.
Right under or last of C tier.
Yes.
I think that's fair. I think it's fair. She's a meme card. All right, well that's our list here. We ended up with just two S tier cards, which I think is pretty accurate considering that's supposed to be, borderline overpowered broken cards. We got four in the F tiers, which for one cost cards I think kind of makes sense. One cost has some misses and a lot of B's and C's. So I'm pretty happy with this list. I think it's a pretty accurate of the current meta. We don't know exactly where Black Knight's going to fall after his change in Kitty Pride.
I think this is pretty spicy. I like it.
Yeah, so if you're playing some games with some one cost cards and they happen to be in this F tier or low on C, you need to check your decks. Try the new Marvel Snap deck builder. See what other card options it gives you.
Hmm.
Take those one cost cards out. And thank you all for watching. Again, I'm joined here by Tuccrr. I'll have his links down below for his Twitch and his YouTube, maybe even his TikTok and Twitter if I'm feeling generous. And until then, I'll see you next time. Have a good one, everybody.
Later.